The time has finally come. Tom Clark, Justin Trudeau's good buddy, the former host at CTV, is brought into committee, and he is questioned, he is grilled, and his lies are exposed by Michael Barrett and Larry Brock. So what we're talking about here today is the $9 million condo that Justin Trudeau bought for Tom Clark to live in with our money. Let's just do a little recap. So this is where Tom Clark is living. He's living on Billionaires Row in New York as the Consul General, a position Tom Clark was appointed by Justin Trudeau. You can see here's, his living space. I mean, $9 million in New York, it's a pretty nice place. The square footage works out to be, I think, around 2,000 square feet for his living conditions, his living quarters here, and then 800 square feet for meetings, which is what the whole point of it is. He can meet people in New York. So there's 800 square feet for meeting, which I'm guessing is this space here. I could be wrong. This could be his living room. I'm not sure. This is the only listing photos we've got here. Our first clip is Michael Barrett absolutely just grilling Tom Clark. And then I've got a clip from about a couple weeks ago. It's ridiculous.
Clark, how long were you residing in the old residence?
How long was I residing? Well, from the time I arrived, February 27th, 2023, until today.
The listing for that property describes it as a masterpiece. Is that right? Is that how it's described?
I know nothing about real estate.
Oh, please.
Well, you're here to talk about it today, so I hope you're prepared to turn your mind to it. The Prime Minister visited you in New York City on April 27th of that year that you moved in. Is that right?
I believe that's correct. He was here on a mission.
Did you host the Prime Minister in the residence?
I did.
Did you show him around?
Around the residence? No.
Yeah. No, you didn't show him around.
No.
What did he comment on the look of it?
No.
So, but to confirm that on April 27th, you and the Prime Minister were in the residence that was deemed unfit for you to continue living in. That's correct. You were there April 27th.
Yeah, along with about 80 other people.
And on April 28th, you were in the limo with him in New York. Is that right? The next day?
That's correct.
So, were there any conversations regarding renovations, upgrade, moving, the former occupants of that condo, or you now occupying it? Any change in discussions regarding which representative in New York was occupying that space? Did that come up at all?
None whatsoever.
So we have government documents that detail how talks on getting a new residence intensified immediately after the Prime Minister visited you. You asked him for a new place. Is that right?
That's incorrect.
So you're in the motorcade with the Prime Minister after he was just in this place that's deemed unfit for you to continue to live in. And you never said, look, buddy, thanks for the job. I could use a new jeweled onyx powder room and a handcrafted copper tub.
No, I did not.
How much representational space is there in the new residence?
Representational space would represent the majority of the space in the new residence.
Okay.
The majority of the space. This is important to note. The majority, because I just told you in the intro here, his residence space, the space he gets to live in, is around 2,000 square feet. It's 800 square feet for the space where he would host people.
That's interesting. So the dining room, living room, jeweled onyx powder room come to about 860 square feet. Does that sound about right to you? That's what the listing says.
I have no idea about square feet. I would refer you to the property division at Global Affairs who handles it.
So that leaves about 2,700 square feet for your personal use, 860 for representational, 2,700 for your personal use. So Canadians are on the hook for paying $9 million for 860 square feet when a perfectly good joint representational space is available at the same property that you're joining us at from today. Is that right?
Your numbers can't be right because that does not represent reality.
He has got him there. I stand corrected. 2,700 square feet, not 2,000. So his living space is more than 3 times the size than what the meeting room space is.
Okay, so what is the percentage of representational space in the new location? Please bring us back to reality.
Question That is a question, Mr. Chair, that should be addressed to the Property Division at Global Affairs Canada.
Well, you had a great deal of certainty to tell me that I'm wrong, but you certainly don't know on what basis I am. I'm referring to exactly the documents that were provided to us by the department that you're now referring me to. GAC's real estate agent told us that you personally visited the new luxury condo once the selection had been made. Was this a final vetting?
Not at all. It was after the offer had been made to buy it that I first saw it.
Did you ever take a moment, as someone who spent a career in journalism, to question the Prime Minister or anyone on the opulence of this location amid the backdrop of the cost of living crisis that we're facing here in Canada? StatsCan saying that 1 in 4 Canadians are going to be using food banks to feed themselves and their families this month. Did that ever occur to you?
Get them.
As I said in my opening statement, Mr. Chair, I am well aware of the challenges being faced by both Canadians and Americans when it comes to housing. In this case, I was not involved in any way, shape, or form in the decision to buy this new residence or sell the old residence. And that is entirely in the hands of the Property Division of Global Affairs.
When you host functions at the event, do you personally prepare the food? Is it done by your personal chef, or are these events catered?
I do not have a personal chef, nor do I cook the food, thankfully.
So these are catered affairs, because we were told by the Real Property Division that the necessity for this was that the shared space that you have at the office that you're in now wasn't suitable to host functions because there wasn't a kitchen to prepare meals. So if the meals are being brought in, couldn't they be brought into your office that you're speaking to us from now?
The bylaws of New York City prohibit us from having a working kitchen in the office. It would be illegal, in fact, for us to put a working kitchen in this office.
If it's catered, it seems moot whether or not you have a kitchen in there. So
Checkmate.
We've been told that you're responsible for all of the trade success between Canada and the United States. Can you tell us exactly, just the number, how much trade business you have generated for Canada? Just the number, sir.
First of all, Mr. Chair, I don't know where or who said that I was responsible for all the trade between Canada and the United States.
Since you don't have the number, I'm out of time. Canadians want to know. You're the $9 million man. They want to know what the value is for Canadians. Sir, keep your bags packed in that new place. Conservatives are going to fire you.
Checkmate, man. That is brilliant, Michael Barrett. Just sticking it to him. We got one more clip here where he talks about the how much the cost per month and his rent of this place.
So let's say a Canadian who didn't know Prime Minister Justin Trudeau went to buy a condo on their own, and let's break down those numbers. Say they have 20% down payment. Let's say they get a great mortgage rate, which is tough after 9 years of Justin Trudeau and the economic vandalism that he's perpetrated on Canadians. That'd work out to about $42,000 a month for your residence. How much do you pay in rent each month for your official residence? Just the number, please.
$1,800.
$1,800 on $42,000 a month. So it's fair to say that you're getting a massive subsidy worth tens of thousands of dollars for your rent every single month. So let's say a Canadian who didn't know Prime Minister Justin Trudeau went to buy a condo on their own, and let's break down those numbers. Say they have 20% down payment. Let's say they get a great mortgage rate.
$42,000 a month, and he's paying $1,800. Like, what Canadian is paying $1,800 a month unless you got into a rental or you purchased with a mortgage rate that was from way back when? I mean, I know some people that have some low rental rates, but it's because they've been renting the same place for 10, 15 years. If you go to rent anything today, you're not getting $1,800 a month in downtown New York in Billionaires Row, let alone anywhere in Canada. Come on. You have to be really out rural. I mean, even out in this town where I live, a one bedroom here is $1,800 a month.
Hi, I'm Tom Clark, and this is yet another New York Minute. Well, anybody who comes to New York knows one thing, and that is that the traffic is a killer, but there are ways around it. For example, this. Yeah, it's a motorcade, which is a great way to get around New York, except for one thing. When you're in a motorcade, sometimes you got a ride share.
Hey everyone, great to be back in New York.
Oh God, he's just the worst. Big cheesy cheese bucket. Like he's just so filthy all the time.
See what I mean? I've seen this guy a lot in the last couple of days. He spoke to Global Citizen, then he spoke to the Council on Foreign Relations. He hung around my place last night. The guy's been around a lot, saying a lot of things.
Yeah, it's always good to be pitching the Canadian advantage here in New York. And
oh, please, Trudeau. His greasy, cheesy, gross smile every time is just slimy and corrupted with lies.
Great to have Tom here full time, making sure everyone hears about it.
There we go. Now that was the important line. That is your New York Minute. Thanks very much. Stay tuned. A lot more New York Minutes coming up.
This guy's an absolute sellout and a loser. Clark is an absolute bag licker for Trudeau. This video is gross beyond comprehension. Imagine patronizing a vile human being like Trudeau to get yourself a fancy taxpayer-funded condo in New York. Sick, yeah, exactly. Next up, we've got Larry Brock ripping apart Tom Clark.
Rounds. Go ahead, Mr. Brock, please.
Mr. Clark, although you have not been sworn or affirmed to tell the truth, every witness that testifies at parliamentary committee is expected to tell the truth. Have you, sir, told the truth to the committee so far?
I have, every word of it.
I have a package of emails from the government, emails from the Chief of Staff to the Assistant Deputy Minister of Trudeau's Minister of Global Affairs, Melanie Jolie. She wrote a summary of the $9 million condo purchase. The email states, and I quote, "Both the Consul General of New York and the head of mission," that's you, Tom Clark, "have been instrumental throughout the process with the head of mission," again, you, Mr. Clark, "providing the green light for the selection of the new residence. It is in writing by the department. Tom Clark, you, sir, was instrumental in the condo purchase on Billionaires Row." So again, Mr. Clark, when did you raise the need for a new residence with the Liberal government?
Mr. Chair, I will repeat, I had no role whatsoever in deciding to sell the old residence, buying the new residence, or its amenities, or its location. That email that you're referring to has a couple of addendums to it that I think are important. Number one, it was corrected. That was a person who was not involved in the process of this. I only became aware of this email less than 48 hours ago. I, too, was taken aback by what was in it because it was simply wrong. It wasn't true.
Mr. Clark, let me stop you right there. I don't believe you. Canadians don't believe you. Are you trying to suggest that a head of mission in any country in the world would be completely shut out, would be completely uninvolved with the acquisition of your own residence? No Canadian believes you, sir. This was not a typo. This was a deliberate, focused sentence regarding your involvement. And the timing, sir, is crucial. The email I referenced was sent out June 17th, 2024. The story of the $9 million condo on Billionaires Row became known to the Canadian public on July the 11th. That was a huge embarrassment to the Canadian government. And I'm sure a huge embarrassment to you, Mr. Clark. Your involvement was documented well before. We have the receipts. The department's pathetic attempt to cover up for you was issued on July 25, after all of the controversy, after all of the pushback from politicians, from Canadians who are struggling to put a roof over their head, who are lined up at food banks, who are starving. People who go to the food banks were actually, donating to the food banks. And you're sitting on Billionaires Row, sipping coffee from a $6,000 coffee machine. You can appreciate how appalling that is to Canadians.
Get him.
So again, sir, I ask for honesty. When did you bring up the need for a new residence?
Mr. Chair, I will repeat once again, And please, if you wish, you can put me under oath on this. I had nothing to do with the decision to sell the old OR. I had nothing to do with the decision to buy the new OR. I had nothing to do with deciding on amenities or its location.
It's funny, Mr. Clark, 19 previous consul generals to New York since 1961 have all enjoyed the lavish amenities, the wonderful location in Midtown Manhattan of the Park Avenue residence until you, sir, were appointed to the position. And within months, sir, of you appointing the position, and within months of Justin Trudeau visiting you and you hanging out in a motorcade in downtown New York with streets closed, all of a sudden, there's a talk about a new residence and a push to get you into Billionaires Row. You said at the outset, you'd rather be in Central Park. Now you're overlooking Central Park. You got your wish, sir.
Mr. Brock, I am not overlooking Central Park.
This guy's such a liar. Tom Clark is a traitor to our country. We've got another clip here from Stephanie Kusi, who's also grilling Tom Clark.
It's very concerning because there are some inconsistencies in the timelines and the testimony that you are giving the committee today. So I'm just going to outline the first one that is very concerning to me as well as the committee. So you get appointed in February of 2023. Then we see you in a motorcade April 28th of 2023 with the Prime Minister, the individual who does the appointments. And in that video, in the motorcade, you say that, in fact, the Prime Minister was over at your place the evening before, the residence of the 27th. And then, lo and behold, Global Affairs Canada, that had put the project of a new residence on hold, all of a sudden, after your appointment, your dinner with the Prime Minister, and then being in the motorcade with the Prime Minister, Global Affairs Canada decides that there are issues with the current residence and that it is time to look for a new residence, apparently a $9 million residence. Isn't that convenient? So can you elaborate for the committee again, please? What was your implication in discussing the new residence with the department and with the Prime Minister? When did you first bring it up with the Prime Minister? Because the chronology would definitely, the chronological timeline would definitely indicate that you had conversations with the Prime Minister about the residence. Because isn't that funny that you would be appointed, you would have dinner with the Prime Minister, you would be in a motorcade with the Prime Minister, and lo and behold, Global Affairs Canada decides that it's time for a new residence after that visit. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what happened here. We all know what happened. Justin Trudeau went for a visit there. He had that little motorcade visit, took him on there. They had a nice chat, and then, oh, do you want a new $9 million place there, Big Tom? And so Tom, that's it. Yeah, I don't know if Trudeau suggested it, if Tom suggested it. They came to it together. They used our money. They bought Tom a new place to live. That's what's going on. He has to pay $1,800 a month in rent to live in a $9 million place. It's ridiculous. Even Boo thinks so. Look at her. She can't handle it either. That's where we'll wrap this one up. Be sure to subscribe here to Moose on the Loose Extra, my second channel. We'll keep fighting for freedom. I'll see you guys in the next one.